Before you say even one word to your students, your body language has created an impression on them. That impression can mean the difference between the students trusting you or not. As a teacher, it can be really difficult to build trust with your students. Throw in the fact that we're in a virtual classroom where our body language is not as visible, and the challenges are compounded. Body language makes up about 58% of communication, so it's crucial that we keep this in mind in this virtual delivery mode. To help us understand how we might overcome some of these communication barriers, let's just do a quick neuroscience refresh. Research into neuroscience shows that the organizing principle of the brain is to minimize risk or danger to ourselves and to maximize reward. So when we meet someone for the first time, our brain does this split-second assessment of that. It's almost as if the brain asks itself a number of questions. Is this person friendly towards me? Is there going to be some sort of benefit or reward if I interact with them? Or is this person a foe or an enemy? Are they posing some sort of risk or danger to me? Or is this person a procreational option? Looks like they've got good genetics. Now, if we don't categorize someone into those three boxes, we put them into the indifference box. And we all know what that's like. We walk past people all the time in the street. There's no benefit for us to interact with them. They're not posing any risk to us. They're not catching our eye. We just keep walking. Now, obviously, we don't want our students putting us into the foe or enemy category. That will just put them into fight or flight, and that's not conducive to learning. And we definitely don't want them to put us into the procreational option, so let's put a big X through that. And we don't want them treating us with indifference because they're not going to learn in that space. What we want to try and do is get them to put us into this reward category where we're going to maximize how they learn. As an example of how much body language creates an impression on others, have a quick look at these two clips. Do you feel more safe with this person or this person? Now, there's no right or wrong in which of the two people in those clips you may have felt more safe with, but the point is your mind made an instantaneous decision about which one it was. Considering all these things, you can see how important body language is in creating an impression for your students, and we need to do it right from the start. Now, the first step is to consider, what impression do I want to give my students? What is the image that I want to portray? For me, I want to create a safe place, I want to be authentic and relatable, and I want to be calm and assertive. Take a few moments now just to consider, what is the impression you want to give in a virtual environment? Here are some basic body language strategies that I use to make sure that I'm creating the impression that I want to give to my students. Now, the first thing is the distance from the camera. You'll notice that you can kind of see just the top half of me. I want students to be able to see my hands if I move them, because hands are a key part of body language. The other thing is I want to be at a distance, not too far away, otherwise it seems like I'm distant from you. And I also don't want to be too close because otherwise I'm going to be in your personal space. So you want to try and find that comfortable zone somewhere in the middle. Maintaining good eye contact is another way of creating a good impression with our students. The way we do that is obviously they need to be able to see us, and the other way in this virtual environment is to look right down the lens of the camera. When we meet someone for the first time, what's the first thing we do? We look for their eyes. And if I was to come off the screen and on again now, the first thing your eyes would look for is my eyes, so that you can orient yourself and make that connection. While I'm talking about eyes, another really subtle body language cue that we can be aware of is how often we're blinking. It's normal to blink when we're communicating with someone. I'm an ex-police officer, so I was trained to watch people's eyes, and I'll demonstrate it now by not blinking. But sometimes when talking to someone, they would not blink and they'd just be looking at you, and it would give you an impression that something's going on in their head or they're about to do something. And it's quite unnerving if you, even now watching me, I'm sure it's putting you off a little bit. So it's important to blink. Don't forget to smile while you're presenting in a virtual environment. I'm sure you've all heard of mirror neurons. I'm not smart enough to go into all the technical details, but basically it boils down to, if I smile, it's likely to trigger the mirror neurons in your brain that are going to make you smile. And if you smile, then I'm going to smile back. It's going to make me a happier presenter and create that safe, relatable place that I want to create. Earlier, I mentioned having the camera at a suitable distance so that you can still see the upper part of me and also see my hands when I move them. Moving our hands is a great way to use our body language to communicate. And a really quick way to build trust with students is to use open-handed gestures like this, or it could be one hand at a time, it doesn't matter. But what it does, it shows the students that we've got nothing to hide, nothing that's going to harm them, and that we're trustworthy. It'll create reassurance and put them at ease. The other reason I want you to be able to see my hands is because do you remember the teachers that you may have had at school or TAFE or uni that were really passionate, and the more excited they got, the more they used their hands? Well, I want to be like that. I want to be able to express passion for a particular topic. It shows that I care about the content, and it shows that I care about the students because I want to impart this to them and inspire them. I'm going to end this video on a thing I call the so what factor. That just means we've covered a heap of content, but so what? What difference is it going to make to your delivery? So before you go, think about just one thing that you can take and start to implement the next time you jump into a virtual classroom.